They said I was too old to understand what was happening. That at 68 my mind was slipping. But I understood perfectly when my daughter-in-law Elena smiled, that venomous smile, and announced she'd be taking over my late husband's company. What she didn't know was that I'd been CEO of that company for 3 years before Gregory ever touched it. I'm Catherine Morrison, 68, and for the past 5 years, I've watched my son Marcus and his wife Elena systematically try to erase me from my own family legacy. It started small, forgetting to invite me to board meetings, excluding me from family photos, telling my grandchildren I was too tired to visit. By the time Gregory passed away 6 months ago, they'd already begun calling the shots in the $50 million manufacturing empire my parents built from nothing. The morning of the will reading, Elena wore Chanel from head to toe, bought with dividends from shares Gregory and I held jointly. She sat in the lawyer's office like she owned it, one manicured hand resting possessively on Marcus's arm, the other scrolling through her phone. "Let's get this over with," she said, not even bothering to hide her impatience. "We have a 2 o'clock with the board to announce the new direction." Attorney James chin adjusted his glasses and opened the folder. "Before we begin, I should mention that Mrs. Morrison made certain legal arrangements in the weeks before his passing that supersede the original will dated." Supersede? Elena's head snapped up. "What do you mean supersede?" James looked at me briefly, and I kept my face neutral. Mr. Morrison executed a codicil 3 weeks before his death, in sound mind and witnessed by 3 independent parties, including his physician. Marcus leaned forward. "Mom, did you know about this?" I folded my hands in my lap. "Your father and I were married for 43 years. We talked about everything." Elena's eyes narrowed. "What kind of changes?" James began reading. The beach house in Malibu, the one Elena had already redecorated in her mind, went to the Pacific Coast Conservation Trust. The art collection she'd been cataloging for auction was donated to the Getty Museum. The yacht Marcus had named after himself was sold, proceeds to marine research. With each item, Elena's face grew redder. "This is ridiculous. Gregory wouldn't." "There's more," James interrupted. "Regarding Morrison Manufacturing and all associated holdings, Mr. Morrison states, I leave the entirety of my shares, totaling 42% of Morrison Manufacturing, to my beloved wife, Catherine Morrison, who built this company alongside her father and taught me everything I know about running it." The room went silent. "That's impossible," Elena whispered. "Marcus is the heir. He's been preparing for years. Marcus Morrison receives a trust fund of $2 million to be disbursed over 10 years, and the family home in Connecticut, provided it remains his primary residence." James looked up. "There's a personal note here. Son, I love you, but you've let your wife convince you that your mother is losing her mind. She's not. She's the sharpest person I've ever known. Maybe now you'll remember that." Marcus had gone pale. "Mom, we thought you wanted to retire. Elena said you were ready to step back." Elena said, I spoke for the first time, my voice calm. "For 5 years, Marcus, you've let Elena speak for me, think for me, decide for me. Do you even know what I want?" Elena stood abruptly. "This is elder abuse. She manipulated him when he was sick." "Mrs. Morrison," James's voice cut like a knife. Mr. Morrison was of sound mind, confirmed by 3 physicians, a psychiatrist, and a notary public. He recorded a video statement explaining his reasoning, if you'd like to see it. Yes, I said quietly. I think we all should. It started the day Marcus announced his engagement. I'd never met Elena before. She appeared like a sudden storm, beautiful and overwhelming. At dinner, she looked around our family home with calculating eyes. This place is so dated, she said, smiling sweetly. Marcus, we should help your mom modernize. Maybe hire a decorator. The house is fine, I replied. Gregory and I like it this way. Of course, of course. She patted my hand. But you know, at your age, it must be hard to keep up with trends. At my age, I was 63. I ran a manufacturing company with 800 employees. The wedding was lavish, $300,000 of our money. Elena wanted a destination ceremony in Tuscany. Catherine, you understand if it's too much travel for you at your age? The flight is so long, and we wouldn't want you to be uncomfortable. I'm perfectly capable, I started. Mom, Marcus interrupted. Elena's just being considerate. You've been saying your back hurts. I had mentioned it once, after moving furniture. But suddenly, every minor complaint became evidence of my declining health. Gregory squeezed my hand under the table. We'll be there, he said firmly. But in Tuscany, Elena seated us at a table in the back, far from the family section. We thought you'd be more comfortable away from the noise, she explained. In every photo, we were cropped out or positioned at the edges. After the wedding, things accelerated. Elena and Marcus moved into the guest house on our property, just temporarily, they said. Temporary became 6 months, then a year. Elena redecorated without asking, replacing my mother's artwork with modern pieces. Where are the paintings? I asked. Oh, those old things? I donated them. They were so dreary. You don't mind, do you? At your stage of life, I thought you'd want to simplify. The paintings were by my mother, an artist who died when I was 12. I'd grown up looking at them. I went to my bedroom and cried for the first time in years. Gregory found me there. Kat, we need to do something. What can we do? He's our son. He's letting her erase you, Gregory said, and I won't allow it. But Gregory was getting sick. The cancer diagnosis came 3 years into Marcus and Elena's marriage. Suddenly, Elena was everywhere at doctor's appointments, in consultations, offering to help with paperwork. Catherine, you look so tired, she cooed. Why don't you let me handle this? Medical terminology is so complex, and at your age. At my age, I'd been reading medical journals to understand Gregory's condition. At my age, I'd built a company from $2 million to $50 million in annual revenue. But Elena had Marcus convinced I was a confused old woman who needed managing. Board meetings became nightmares. Mom, maybe you should sit this one out, Marcus would say. It's a lot of technical information. I wrote the technical specifications, I'd reply. Yes, but that was years ago. Things have changed. Elena started a whisper campaign. I overheard her on the phone. She's losing it. Yesterday, she couldn't remember where she put her keys. We're worried it might be early dementia. I'd left my keys in my other purse. Once. But Elena turned it into a pattern of confusion that existed only in her stories. My grandchildren, Sophia and James, were taught to treat me like a fragile antique. Gentle with Grandma, Elena would say. She gets confused easily. Sophia, who was 7, started speaking to me in a loud, slow voice, the way you talk to someone who doesn't understand English. Honey, I can hear you fine, I said. Mommy says you have old ears. My old ears had heard Elena on the phone with an interior designer, planning to renovate once the old lady is out of the way. My old brain understood exactly what she meant. The day Gregory sat me down in his study 3 months before he died, I knew something had shifted. His eyes were clear despite the pain medication, focused in a way I recognized from our early years building the company together. I need you to trust me, Kat, he said, and I need you to stay quiet about what I'm going to do. What are you planning? I'm planning to give you back your power. He pulled out a folder. I've been documenting everything. Elena's financial requests. Did you know she spent $400,000 in the last 2 years on personal expenses? Marcus approved every penny because she told him it was for the family. I stared at the spreadsheets. Jewelry, vacations, a sports car, private school tuition for the kids at a school that costs more than most colleges. Gregory, I've also been recording conversations. In this state, one-party consent is legal. He showed me his phone. Listen to this one. Elena's voice came through clearly. Once he's gone, we need to get Catherine declared incompetent. There's a lawyer who specializes in this. We can get conservatorship, take over everything. The old bat won't even know what hit her. Marcus's voice responded, I don't know, Elena. That seems extreme. It's not extreme, it's practical. She's 70, Marcus. How much longer can she possibly be competent? We're just being proactive. I was 68, and sharper than I'd ever been. Gregory clicked off the recording. I've got 10 more like that. Phone calls, conversations in our own home. She doesn't even bother to whisper anymore because she thinks we're both too old to matter. What are you going to do? I'm going to change my will. Everything goes to you. The shares, the assets, everything. But more than that, I'm going to leave a video explanation. And I'm going to include a clause about the company. What kind of clause? He smiled, that old brilliant smile I'd fallen in love with. You'll see. The video James Chun played in the lawyer's office showed Gregory in his study, gaunt but clear-eyed, sitting up straight. If you're watching this, I'm gone. Marcus, son, I love you, but I'm disappointed in you. For 5 years, you've watched your wife diminish your mother, the woman who built the company you thought you'd inherit, who raised you, who stood by me through everything. You let Elena convince you that Catherine was losing her mind. She's not. She never was. Elena, I know exactly what you are. I've known for 3 years. Every dismissive comment, every whisper about Catherine's age, every plan you made to push her out, I heard it. I documented it. And now it ends. Catherine inherits everything because she earned it. She built Morrison Manufacturing with her father. I was just the guy lucky enough to learn from her and smart enough to marry her. Marcus, you get a trust fund. It's generous, more than most people see in a lifetime. But you don't get the company. Not yet. Maybe not ever. That depends on what you do next. The clause in the will states that if Catherine wishes, she can name Marcus as her successor, but only if he proves himself. How? By working under her, by learning the business the way she built it, by treating her with the respect she deserves. If he refuses, if he contests this will, if Elena continues her campaign against Catherine, then the company will be sold and all proceeds will go to charity. Son, you have a choice. Humble yourself, learn from your mother, and maybe you'll inherit what you thought was already yours, or lose it all. Kat, my love, I'm sorry I didn't stop this sooner. I'm sorry I let them make you feel small. You're not small. You're the strongest person I've ever known. Take back what's yours. The video ended. The office was silent except for Elena's ragged breathing. She looked like she might explode. Monday morning, I walked into Morrison Manufacturing headquarters at 7:30 a.m., just like I had for 40 years before Marcus convinced me to take it easy. The receptionist's eyes went wide. Mrs. Morrison, we weren't expecting. I'm the majority shareholder now, Sarah. You can expect me every day. The executive team was already in the conference room when I arrived. Heads turned. Marcus stood at the head of the table, my seat. Mom, what are you doing here? I set down my briefcase. That's my chair, Marcus. But I've been running the morning meetings for 2 years. And now I'm back. I waited. The room held its breath. Finally, Marcus moved. I sat down and opened my laptop. All right, gentlemen. And yes, I noticed we still don't have any women in executive leadership. We'll be addressing that. Let's talk about the Patterson contract. James Riley, our CFO, cleared his throat. Mrs. Morrison, with all respect, that contract was finalized last month. It was finalized poorly. I pulled up the document. You agreed to a 15% price reduction in exchange for a 5-year commitment. But you didn't index for inflation, didn't include a materials escalation clause, and locked us into a price point that will lose money by year 3. Silence. How did you? Marcus started. How did I know? I read the contract. I've been reading every contract that crosses this company for 40 years. Did you think I stopped paying attention? Our COO, David Chen, leaned forward. Mrs. Morrison, if you don't mind my asking, what would you have negotiated? 5% reduction, 3-year commitment with renewal options, quarterly price adjustments tied to the producer price index, and a materials clause allowing for renegotiation if steel prices rise above 8%. David was typing notes. That's actually brilliant. It's basic, I said. It's what my father taught me when I was 25 years old. Before any of you were born. Marcus's face was red. Mom, you're making me look incompetent. No, son. You're doing that yourself. I softened my voice. Your father's will gives you a choice. Work with me, learn and prove yourself, or walk away. And if I walk away, then I sell the company and give the money to charity. Your trust fund remains, but Morrison Manufacturing ceases to exist as a family business. Elena, who'd been sitting in the corner where Marcus had set up a chair for her, why was she even here, stood up. This is ridiculous. Marcus is the next generation. You can't just... Elena, why are you in this meeting? I'm Marcus's wife. I have a right. You have no rights here. You're not an employee, not a shareholder, not a board member. You're a spouse, and this is a closed executive session. I looked at Sarah. Please escort Mrs. Morrison to the lobby. Catherine, you can't be serious. I'm completely serious. Security, please. As Elena was walked out, sputtering protests, I turned back to the team. Now, let's talk about the Henderson acquisition Marcus has been pursuing. What about it? Marcus asked defensively. It's overpriced by $12 million. Their equipment is outdated, and their client base overlaps with ours by 70%, which means minimal new revenue. Walk away. But the projection models were based on assumptions provided by Henderson's team, who desperately want to sell before their aging infrastructure collapses. I've seen their maintenance records. They're one equipment failure away from bankruptcy. David looked at Marcus. Did you verify the maintenance records? Elena said. Marcus stopped. I mean, the consultants said. Which consultants? I asked. The firm Elena recommended. Let me guess. They're getting a percentage of the deal. Marcus went pale. How did you know? Because I've been in this business for 45 years, and I know a conflict of interest when I see one. Over the next 3 months, I systematically undid every poor decision Marcus and Elena had made. The Henderson acquisition, canceled, saving $12 million. The Patterson contract, renegotiated with the exact terms I'd outlined, adding $3 million to our bottom line over 3 years. But more than that, I started rebuilding what Elena had tried to erase. I promoted Zara, our receptionist who had an MBA she'd earned at night school, to junior analyst. I hired 3 women to executive positions. I reinstated the profit-sharing program Marcus had cut to improve margins. The employees noticed. At a company lunch, our production manager, Tom Santos, approached me. Mrs. Morrison, I just wanted to say, it's good to have you back. Things were getting hard. Hard how? He hesitated. Mr. Marcus, he's not a bad guy. But Mrs. Elena, she kept pushing for cuts. Benefits, safety equipment, training programs. She said we were being inefficient. Safety equipment? Last month, she tried to get us to switch to cheaper gloves for the chemical handling line. I pushed back, and she tried to get me fired. I felt ice in my veins. She tried to get you fired for protecting workers' safety. Mr. Marcus stopped it. But yeah, that evening, I called an emergency board meeting. Just the board members, no Marcus, no executives. I presented a full audit of every decision made in the past 2 years. Gentlemen, we have a problem. My son has been making decisions based on advice from his wife, who has no business experience and a clear pattern of prioritizing short-term profits over long-term stability and worker safety. Board member Richard Huang frowned. Catherine, are you saying? I'm saying that if I hadn't come back, someone would have been injured or killed within 6 months due to the safety compromises Elena was pushing. I'm saying that the Henderson acquisition would have bankrupted us in 3 years. I'm saying that we were being systematically destroyed from the inside. What do you want to do? I want to invoke the clause in Gregory's will. Marcus can stay, but only as a junior executive. He needs to learn this business from the ground up, the way I did. No executive decisions without my approval. And if he refuses, then we activate the sale clause and Morrison Manufacturing becomes part of Jameson Industrial Group with guarantees for employee retention and benefits. Richard nodded slowly. I'll second that motion. The vote was unanimous. When I told Marcus about the board's decision, Elena was there. Of course she was. She'd been hovering around him constantly since the will reading, whispering in his ear, strategizing. This is humiliating, Marcus said. You're demoting me in front of everyone. I'm saving you, I interrupted. Do you understand what would have happened if the Henderson deal went through? Or if someone got hurt because of the safety cuts? The consultant said. The consultants Elena hired were getting kickbacks. Marcus, open your eyes. Elena stood up, her voice sharp. How dare you accuse me? Sit down, Elena. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. I have documentation. Every consultant you recommended had a financial incentive to push the deals you wanted. Every cost-cutting measure you suggested would have benefited vendors who mysteriously had connections to your family or friends. That's a lie. It's not. I opened my folder. Your cousin Dimitri owns the company that would have supplied the cheaper safety equipment. Your college roommate runs the firm that recommended the Henderson acquisition. Your brother-in-law owns stock in 3 of the vendors Marcus switched to against staff recommendations. The color drained from her face. You've been investigating me? No, Elena. I've been protecting my company. And my son. Marcus looked between us. Mom, is this true? Every word. She's been using you to funnel money to her associates while slowly destroying the company my father built. Marcus, she's lying, Elena started. Stop. Marcus held up his hand. His voice was shaking. Just stop. Mom, show me the documentation. I handed him the folder. He read for 10 minutes in silence while Elena sat rigid in her chair, her mask finally cracking. She showed you how to live like royalty, I said quietly. But she was doing it with the company's blood. Another 2 years of this, and Morrison Manufacturing would have been bankrupt. That's not, Elena tried. Shut up. Marcus's voice was flat. He looked at me. What happens now? Now, you have the same choice your father gave you. Work with me, learn the real business, or walk away. And Elena? I looked at my daughter-in-law. Elena has no role in this company. She never did, and she never will. Elena stood up, shaking with rage. You think you've won? You're a senile old woman living in the past. Marcus, tell her. I think you should leave, Marcus said quietly. What? Leave. Now. I need to think. Marcus, if you side with her, I swear. You'll what, Elena? I asked calmly. Divorce him? Please do. It'll make the prenup discussions very interesting, especially the clause about fraud. She went pale. There's no prenup. There is now. Gregory and I had it drafted before he died. It stipulates that in the event of divorce initiated within 5 years of his death, all marital assets are subject to review for fraudulent acquisition. Given what I've documented, you'd leave with exactly what you came with. Nothing. Elena looked at Marcus, waiting for him to defend her. He stared at the floor. She grabbed her purse. This isn't over. Yes, I said. It is. The first 3 months of Marcus's demotion were rocky. He shadowed me everywhere. Production floor, supplier meetings, client negotiations. At first, he was sullen, embarrassed to be treated like an intern at 40 years old. Then something shifted. We were in a meeting with a potential client, a woman named Jessica Park, who owned a mid-sized automotive parts company. She was tough, asking detailed questions about our quality control processes, our safety record, our employee retention rates. Marcus tried to jump in with a sales pitch, and I gently cut him off. Marcus, why don't you get the safety audit reports from last quarter? Ms. Park wants specifics, not promises. When he returned with the files, Jessica was smiling. Mrs. Morrison, I have to say, I appreciate your approach. When I met with your son last year, he spent the whole meeting talking about profit margins and efficiency. He never once mentioned employee safety or quality control. After the meeting, which we won, Marcus was quiet on the drive back. Finally, he said, I really screwed up, didn't I? Yes. All those years, I thought I was learning the business. But I was just learning how to maximize profits. Profit isn't bad, Marcus, but it can't be the only thing. Your grandfather used to say, take care of your people, deliver quality, and profit takes care of itself. Dad said that too. I remember. He paused. When did I stop listening? When Elena started talking louder. He flinched. I filed for divorce last week. I hadn't known. How do you feel? Like I'm waking up after 5 years in a fog. Mom, the things she said about you, I believed them. I watched her erase you from our lives, and I helped her do it. Why? Because she made me feel important. Like I was the smart one, the capable one. And you were always so competent, so confident. I think part of me wanted to believe you were slipping because then I could finally be the one in charge. I pulled over to the side of the road and turned to face my son. Marcus, you want to know why I never pushed you to take over sooner? Because I wasn't ready? Because you never asked to learn. You wanted the title, the office, the power, but you never wanted to do the work. Your father and I were waiting for you to show interest in the actual business, not just the benefits. He wiped his eyes. I'm interested now. I know. That's why you're still here. 6 months after the will reading, Morrison Manufacturing posted its most profitable quarter in 5 years. We'd recovered the losses from Marcus's poor decisions, expanded into 2 new markets, and improved our safety record to best in industry. More importantly, Marcus had changed. He came in early, stayed late, asked questions instead of making assumptions. He spent 2 weeks on the production floor, actually working the lines. He read every manual, every contract, every report. One evening, working late in my office, he knocked on my door. Mom, can I show you something? He pulled up a presentation. I've been working on this for 3 months. It's a proposal for a mentorship program, pairing experienced workers with new hires, not just for training, but for real knowledge transfer. And I want to expand the profit sharing to include performance bonuses for safety improvements and innovation suggestions. I looked at the numbers, the implementation plan, the budget projections. It was thorough, thoughtful, and exactly the kind of long-term thinking the company needed. What made you think of this? Tom Santos. He's been here 20 years and he knows more about efficient production than any consultant we've hired. But no one ever asked his opinion before. I started asking. Turns out, our frontline workers have incredible ideas. And I realized Dad was right. I wasn't ready before. I was just a kid playing businessman, letting Elena tell me I was smart while I made stupid decisions. You weren't stupid, Marcus. You were inexperienced and overconfident. That's different. Will I ever be ready? Really ready? I smiled. You're ready now. This proposal, implement it. You have my full support. Really? Really? And Marcus? Start coming to board meetings again. Not as CEO, not yet, but as VP of Operations. You've earned it. 1 year after Gregory's death, I gathered the family at the house. The one Marcus still lived in, the one Elena had tried to make hers. My grandchildren, Sophia and James, now 8 and 6, ran through the halls like they used to before Elena restricted their visits. Grandma, you're not confused anymore, Sophia announced. Honey, I was never confused. But Mommy said. She stopped looking at Marcus. Mommy was wrong about a lot of things, Marcus said gently. Grandma has always been the smartest person in our family. Over dinner, Marcus stood up. Mom, I have something for you. He handed me a small box. Inside was a nameplate, Catherine Morrison, CEO, Morrison Manufacturing. I had them update the door to your office, he said. It never should have come down. Marcus, I'm going to retire eventually. I know. And when you do, I'll be ready. But not because I'm entitled to it. Because you taught me how to earn it. I looked at my son, really looked at him. The arrogance was gone. In its place was humility, curiosity, and real competence. He'd never be Gregory, he'd be better. Because he'd learned from failure. There's one more thing, I said. I pulled out a folder. This is a proposal I've been working on. I want to establish the Morrison Family Foundation. Its mission, supporting women in manufacturing and business, particularly those over 50 who are told they're too old, too confused, or too past their prime. Mom, that's perfect. I'm putting up $10 million to start. But I want you to run it. Me. You. You know what it's like to underestimate someone. Use that. Help others avoid the same mistake. The divorce was finalized in the spring. Elena fought for half of everything, but the prenup held. She walked away with exactly what Gregory had specified. Nothing from the marriage, though her personal earnings and gifts were untouched. The day the papers were signed, I got a call from an unknown number. Catherine, it's Elena. I almost hung up. What do you want? I want to tell you that you won. You and Gregory, you played me perfectly. It wasn't a game, Elena. Wasn't it? Her voice was bitter. You knew all along. You watched me, documented everything, and waited. No, I hoped you'd change. I hoped you'd see Marcus for who he really was and love him anyway. But you only loved what you thought he could give you. Silence. Then I did love him. In my way. Your way was cruel. To him, to me, to my grandchildren. I know. Her voice cracked. I know that now. I'm sorry, Catherine. I doubt you believe me, but I am. I believe you. But sorry doesn't fix what you broke. I know. Goodbye, Catherine. Goodbye, Elena. I never heard from her again. 2 years after Gregory's death, Morrison Manufacturing celebrated its 50th anniversary. The company my father started with a single machine shop now employed 1,200 people across 3 states. At the celebration, Marcus stood at the podium. My grandfather built this company on a simple principle: quality and integrity. My mother grew it with innovation and dedication. My father nurtured it with wisdom, and I almost destroyed it with arrogance. The room was silent, but my mother, Catherine Morrison, saved it. Not just the company, but me. She could have let me fail. She had every right to cut me off completely. Instead, she gave me the hardest gift, the chance to prove myself. He gestured to me. Mom, come up here. I joined him at the podium. He handed me a framed document. This is a new partnership agreement. Equal ownership, mother and son, with a clause that states all major decisions require both signatures. I don't want the power to make the same mistakes again. I looked at the document, then at my son. Are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything. I signed. He signed. The room erupted in applause. That night, alone in my study, I looked at Gregory's photo on my desk. We did it, love. We saved him. I could almost hear his response, no, Cat. You saved him. Just like you saved this company. Just like you've saved everything you've ever touched. I smiled, touched the photo, and turned to my laptop. Morrison Manufacturing's quarterly reports wouldn't review themselves. At 70 years old, I had work to do, and I'd never felt more alive.